Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Koppel. I'm a co-founder of NFT42, and we're going to be sort of going around the horn here, doing a couple brief intros, and then a little bit of a deeper dive into each of our projects. So next up, how about
Awesome.
that?
Thanks, Ryan. I'm John Dempsey, the founder of 8 Hours Foundation, where we're building a awesome NFT collectibles platform known as VimWorld, and bringing collectibles to the mass audiences.
Yep, and I'm Joe Scott. I'm the Chief Business Officer of Block Party. Mainly manage our play table business, which is our collectibles and toys to life part of the business. That happy to be here and dive into.
Robert, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Robert Allen here. I produce Bitcoin and Friends, a cartoon on YouTube. I am also in the beginning stages of a new startup that I'm working on called Moneda, which is looking to disrupt the remittance market using Bitcoin and Lightning Network.
Cool. And that's all of us, right? I gotta say, before we get started, I'm really happy that I'm on a panel with other people who know about NFTs. And I also logged in for one of these briefly the other day, and everyone was wearing suits. And I was starting to think, I'm like, are we pretending like we don't all work from home now or something like that? I better throw on like at least not a hoodie or something. So happy to be here with you guys. I guess I'll give like a 5-minute intro on what NFT 42 is, and then we can sort of go around the horn again and maybe do like a little bit of Q&A, because I am genuinely interested in your guys' projects and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll dive right in. NFT 42 is a company that was basically founded upon this theory that when people get or acquire an NFT in some way or another, their default assumption is that all of their NFT metadata is hosted on the blockchain. And what people don't realize until later on is that most NFTs have their data hosted on IPFS or some sort of third-party platform, which has historically been the best solution. But what we've tried to do is really drive the space forward by creating bulletproof NFTs that are hosted entirely on the Ethereum blockchain to start. And now, due to the crazy fluctuation in gas prices, we're going a little bit blockchain agnostic and moving over to other blockchains as well. But the flagship project for NFT 42 is called Avastars. And it's basically a generative art project in the same spirit of CryptoKitties. What the difference is that you can basically scroll through infinite amounts of Avastars until you find one you like, and they sort of look like comic book characters, like headshots of comic book characters. And they have like a lot of the same tricks and things that a lot of these generative art projects have, in terms of you can find legendary ones that are, in theory more desirable or more difficult to find. But the concept behind Avastars is that people start using them as a decentralized identity. So what people have done is use them as their profile pictures across multiple platforms, again, in the idea of decentralized identity, and moving towards a full 3D Avastar with a .vrm file type, again, hosted on the blockchain. But that you can basically take from virtual world to virtual world and, again, have this be your form of online identity. The proof of concept with Avastars is, again, that all the metadata is hosted entirely on the Ethereum blockchain. So if you purchase an Avastar, you are purchasing the complete NFT that you can do whatever you want with. If, God forbid, our website goes down or our company, gets buried or whatever, the Avastar will continue to live on as long as the Ethereum blockchain lives on. And again, now we're moving more towards blockchain agnostic approach. But this sort of got the on-chain movement going, along with several other projects that are in the same spirit. So this spawned Infinity, which is our minting platform that anybody can mint an NFT, be it a piece of art or a 3D model. And all of that metadata is, again, hosted entirely on the blockchain. And then we have the community arm as well, which just sort of is the uprising that's sprung up around it, which I can get into later on. But we've been holding weekly meetups within blockchain-based virtual reality platforms such as Decentraland and CryptoVoxels for quite some time now. And we have different programs and creators and developers come on and sort of explain to the audience their projects, all within the same spirit of like the NFT community and moving towards more decentralized metaverse and NFTs. So that's the quick pitch on what we've got going on, and would love to hear what you guys got cooking up.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's a great primer for NFTs in general, kind of what new value they're adding to the space. And I think for us at 8 Hours Foundation, we don't care so much about the tech, but rather the impact that it has on people's lives. So 8 Hours Foundation, what it stands for is really in the name. We want to bring people back together for meaningful social interaction for at least 8 hours a week. So we think that the current landscape of gaming and social games, it's all kind of fragmented. And I mean, you look at what's happening now with everyone going remote, and it's just so hard to connect with other people. So what we want to do is create this ultimate world of social games, and that is powered by the 8 Hours token, EHRT, which we call ERTS, and it's also powered by the games and the collectibles that we bring to the ecosystem. So our collectible, you can go check out vimworld.com, vimworld.com. And this is really our first launch into the digital collectible space, where we bring together characters from Growl and Armstrong, but these really niche, cute characters that you collect. And over time, you start treating them almost as your pet. So we have this system where you have your digital character and you feed them every day. You'll eventually be able to play games with them, and it's really the story that evolves from interacting with your Vim that we think is the special connection right here. NFTs itself as a concept, it's something that you truly own forever, and it's never going to go away. So everything that you do to interact with your Vim and with your NFT gets really stored forever, and everyone can look at that. And I work closely with Joe to bring those to life in a physical manifestation where we breathe life into toys on the play table. We breathe life into physical figurines and cards and give them a digital persona so that these things can eventually take on a personality of their own, which is crazy. It's like the collectibles that you own, they have their own personality, they have their own wisdom and experiences behind it. Everything from the tracking of who's owned this in the past to what epic battles have they fought, or even just how rare they are. And people can fall in love with art or with the stories that they come up. And this is kind of that universe that we're creating.
Yeah,
I'm going to eat this up. Seriously, it's a great concept.
Yeah, and to build on that, with Block Party, we actually leverage the 8 Hours token and to actually bring physical objects to the blockchain. So a lot of people they get really attached to their collectibles. Collectibles in and of itself is something like a $300 billion market, right? And I think people they still want to maintain a physical element in a lot of these cases. And so with the play table, and which is a brand new device, it's a gaming console essentially, that we digitize and bring to a single digital platform all of the best board games and all the best games that have figures and those figures people attach themselves to. So if you think, you can think as basic as Monopoly, right? With the top hat, wanting, you get attachment to the top hat, or something as new as like the Funkoverse games. And, in our platform, we can take existing toys, RFID enabled collectibles, and put them into a game. And that's really where we feel our strategy is going, is both sort of a three-prong approach, three legs to the stool, which is, having a digital collectible that's tied to an NFT, tied to the blockchain, immutable, right? That keeps track of where it's been, how many times it's won, who it's gone up against, right? The second component of that is a physical object that you can hold in your hand, you can put on your shelf, you can trade, right? Kids can trade, adults can trade. You can sell it. You can sell it on our own marketplace, which is coming to VimWorld, or you can sell it on eBay, right? You can exchange this object. And then the third is actually having a game, having a play pattern around establishing rapport with that collectible. And then those three things together really combine what we're doing with the play table and in the digital in the NFT space.
So my interest in NFTs is primarily because of Bitcoin and Friends, where we have been contemplating putting out sort of a collectible card game based around the characters in the show. And this is something that we're still considering. And we had originally been looking to do it with Ethereum, and I actually played around with Solidity and had written up some contracts and was, close to pulling the trigger on trying to do it. And then as I got further and further into that process, I just started losing faith in the Ethereum project entirely. And so for those of you guys here, as I think John mentioned, he's not as interested in the tech in terms of the blockchain, and Ryan, you're like maybe agnostic at this point. I would encourage you guys to take a look at the RGB protocol, which is in development for Bitcoin right now. And this is early stage. I think it's probably maybe 6 months out before it would be easy to use, is my guess. But I think their approach really makes a lot of sense because scaling is an issue, and Ethereum doesn't scale, and we're finding that out right now. And so the approach they're using with RGB is basically that the asset control or the ownership of the asset is going to be anchored into the blockchain, into the Bitcoin blockchain. But the metadata and a lot of the other information that's going to be pertaining to any particular asset is actually going to be stored completely off of the blockchain. And I think they're using a DAG, directed acyclic graph, and some other tech to make that work. And they're using also they're claiming this will be able to be used with Lightning Network, which is also very exciting. And that's why I started looking at this. In particular, there's a few others, Rootstock and some other things that are being done with Bitcoin, but this one is to me the most Bitcoin native, and it also it feels like the best approach to actually dealing with the scaling problem, where essentially most of the information about these tokens is not going to be stored on the blockchain itself. And so as long as you're able to anchor in enough data to secure these tokens and make sure the ownership part is tracked correctly with Bitcoin blockchain, then the rest can be handled in another fashion. I'm not an expert on RGB. I've just been digging in and reading. But I am very convinced that Lightning is working and will continue to work to scale the Bitcoin network. And that technology still is probably 6 months to a year out before it's even going to be super easy to use. But a lot of good companies are working in that space. So I think it's a matter of time. And, so with my project, Moneda, my idea there is to use, these would be fungible tokens, but basically to offer gift cards that would have a stable value. But rather than trying to issue a stable coin and dealing with all the regulations that go into something like that, using the gift card regulation in the United States, you can sell up to $500 a day to any given person. Sorry, $500 per card. I think you can sell up to $1,500 per person, something like that. Per day. And so this is a little bit of like a niche use case for these gift cards that is, kind of protects you from a lot of the KYC, AML, and so on frustrations that you run into trying to work in this industry. But nonetheless, the point is, doing this on RGB, making tokens like this would really be, as far as I can tell, very easy to do and integrated into the Lightning Network. And so basically the idea is clients would have a wallet. They could either get a token that would have a certain dollar value, or they could exchange that for Bitcoin, Lightning Bitcoin, in their Lightning empowered wallet. So that's the outline of the vision. I actually do have some slides I could share, but I don't want to be a hog on the time, and I've already talked a few minutes here. So Anyway, pleasure to be on this call with you guys and to kind of chime in with some of these thoughts.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you bring up a great point, Robert. It's like it's really hard to scale consumer grade applications on blockchain at this point. Like Ethereum, with the gas prices, they just make a lot of businesses just like impossible to execute, just fundamentally at that fundamental layer. So we're built on the VeChain blockchain platform, so we don't have a lot of those issues, and it kind of allows us to focus more on actual the value that we're driving. And then the second point that I wanted to touch on was, it's very interesting that you bring up these characters and turning it to a collectible card game, because that's actually what you would use our platform for. And I think we're on the same page here as far as like, it's less so the gameplay or something, or it's less so the show or the story, but it's really the characters that make people fall in love with a brand or with a movie or a book or anything. And those characters, that's why Marvel's so huge, sure. Why Disney's
the hero's journey, right? It's you want to have someone to root for sure.
You want to have a personal connection with things. And so everything that complements that narrative, right? We can start with a show, we can start with a podcast, but how do we build onto there? Those are things that we're looking forward to with VIMs, where if you would take your characters, for example, turn them into VIMs, and we'd be able to drag and drop them into a bunch of just generic games that you can play. And, 10, 20 years from now, you'll still have them. You can pass them on to your kids.
Yeah, Robert, when you were describing that to me, we work a lot with entertainment companies, primarily trying to acquire the rights to bring those characters into new board games or new types of play experiences. Not necessarily board games as a whole, but collectible card games, TCGs, right? Things that people can help build that rapport up with. And so you see, like one of our biggest partners, Catan, they've shifted into the entertainment space, right? They've got a whole new entertainment division. You see, I think it was recently announced today that Twilight Imperium, which is a very popular board game, is getting a show and a book series, right? Like Reckoners is another one that's a really solid title that has great board game, has great content around it, and they want to build on that because they realize that there's an audience there, and that audience is really attached to that specific character or that specific that world, and they want to extend that world. And so it's interesting to see your approach of creating of going down this collectible card game. When we look at the play table is, and I think what we're doing with sort of combining the physical and digital, on Panini, they've got Panini's doing the blockchain stuff now, and they've got actual physical cards. A company that's known for historically collectible cards on the blockchain. You've got Crypto Kaiju, which has physical characters that are actually manufactured that have the NFTs sort of embedded in the base of the toys. And then finally, what we're able to do on the play table is actually detect all of these things, all of these cards, all of these toys, really bring it to life, right? And standard playing cards, right? Standard figures that people would have in their house. Eventually what I think we're all getting at, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, is I'd love to hear a little bit more about the avatars, but we sort of feel that these characters are going to eventually become the avatar that you play in the virtual world, in the virtual reality that is, if that's 5 years out, if that's 10 years out, you can then use these characters as the person, your persona, the thing that represents you in that new brave new world of virtual reality.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going for like the same type of thing in terms of like a decentralized form of identity that you can sort of use cross-platform, cross-metaverse, and not have to recreate the wheel every time you sign up for a new platform, but something that is genuinely like interoperable. I'd be very interested to know like why you guys selected VeChain. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all, because we are considering migrating and have already taken moves towards moving to the Flow network, which is producing NBA Top Shot, and they got the Dapper Labs folks behind them. and have a lot of I think they got the UFC project going on, and they signed Dr. Seuss as well. I'm not sure if that has come out yet or whatever, but anyway, we've got some buddies over at Dapper Labs, which is one of the reasons why we're migrating to Flow. But I feel like everyone, at least in my inner circle, is sort of scratching their heads on where to go with this Ethereum problem that has sort of crept up, because for a while it had been totally sustainable, and every now and again spikes in transaction fees, but now I feel like everyone has basically gotten to the point where they're like, this is not a solution that we can count on. And of course, going blockchain agnostic, or like putting things across multiple blockchains, presents its own set of situations where you got your Trust Wallet or your MetaMask. That doesn't necessarily play nicely with some other blockchains, and I would assume that eventually we're moving towards some sort of all-inclusive blockchain wallet with multiple chains, because there's as a collector myself, there's a lot of cool other platforms, other blockchains that are producing NFTs at a sustainable and affordable rate. But I also don't want to download like 1,000 wallets to host every single one of my collectibles in a totally different place. So I feel like probably everybody's scratching their heads looking for solutions, permanent solutions, and would be very interested to hear why you guys all selected the ones that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go first with regards to that, because I think VeChain directly solves a bunch of these issues. So directly solves at least three things. First part is you can sponsor users' transactions. So a business building application on VeChain can make it so that their customers don't have to worry about loading your wallet with gas. And I think that's one of the friction points right here, right? Just so we're serializing, we're taking away all of these pain points. Second, VeChain actually has a very strong background in hardware and NFC tags and supply chain tracking. And that's like the perfect kind of infrastructure for us to build out a gaming collectibles ecosystem, because the same exact kind of processes and kind of thought patterns go into, characters within games. And we're setting up these game universes. We're setting up physical toy distribution. We're setting up physical digital hybrids. And then third, I think that the VeChain is it has some technologies that are addressing it kind of on a faster pace than Ethereum. So the third one would be just you can batch your transactions together, and it lets you save gas costs. It's overall just a lot cheaper, a lot faster, and it allows us to just get to work on building the actual application.
Yeah, if I can add on to that, for us in particular, because you can't just have a digital NFT and a physical object that you can then spoof, or that you can then modify, or essentially lose the value of, right? So we need to embed in these physical objects the actual NFC tags that are tamper-proof, because that thing needs to be just as strong and as secure as the digital component, the digital side of it. So we work pretty closely with the VeChain network to get those right NFC tags in our devices, and work on security, right? So they're non-spoofable NFCs and RFID tags, and so that's an added point as to why the VeChain network is just a little bit better for what we're trying to do, bridging both the physical and the digital worlds.
For me, I mean, I'm basically a Bitcoin maximalist. So my concern for all these other chains is that they may not be around in 5 years. Even VeChain, as nice as it is to use, it sounds like they've done some good things. And obviously I wish you guys well, and I wish them well. But I also have a sense that just like the internet has really converged on specific technologies, for the internet stack, that we're going to have a similar situation that will ultimately play out, where Bitcoin will be the base layer, and then there will be other technologies like Lightning and RGB and many, many other protocols that are going to interface with that secure base layer, and we'll eventually get all these different sorts of functionalities. So I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years you guys are still going, hopefully making big money and things are well with your business, but you've ultimately transitioned to technology that's built on Bitcoin. That would be my 5 year to 10 year guess on where these things are going to all go. So that's really where I've just, because I was, kind of shit coining for a while there, and had some, got burned on a few things, and just started really digging more and more, and kind of converging on this feeling that I have. So yeah, that's my encouragement, is just lean into Bitcoin. And I think it's a longer road to get to really functional technology. Like, it's not as fast, but it's to me that, like, the fundamental thing that we're doing with all of this is we are re-envisioning the financial system, and all these other things that are being built out of it are exciting. But if we don't get that basic piece right, and so I think the Bitcoin community has that right. We have ultimate scarcity in Bitcoin. We're not going to see it inflated beyond 21 million, and I can guarantee that will never happen, because you'd have to, convert and convince tens of thousands of people to become Keynesians, and that's just never going to happen. At least not in our generation. Maybe 100 years from now, if everyone's forgotten about all of these things, perhaps we could have a problem. But yeah, so that's where I am. I'm focusing my attention on Bitcoin, and but I would love to talk with you guys about your platform, and potentially what if we could work with you guys on Bitcoin and Friends, or at least be in communication. It sounds very interesting. I did see your booth, by the way, at the blockchain week up in San Francisco, and was able to see some of the stuff in person. So it's really cool to see the tabletop and everything. I'm excited overall for what you guys are doing.
Dude, there's always one Bitcoin maximalist everywhere you go. I feel like it's good, man. I'm a Bitcoin guy as well, and really 2 years ago, I sort of fell down the Ethereum rabbit hole with NFTs and everything, just because it was happening like now. You know what I mean? We weren't waiting for the things to occur. And as a general concept, Robert, I tend to agree with you that is the safest long-term road. But I mean, the reality is people want stuff now. And so that's sort of how, and the stuff that is being done is really cool until we hit, this gas roadblock with Ethereum and everything. But I certainly feel like, although I don't think anyone has the perfect solution, there is like a steadily increasing demand for like basically the entire NFT ecosystem. I feel like is really exploding right now, especially within the past month and a half or so. I was at NFT NYC, let's see, 6-8 months ago or whatever it was, and remember hearing there was a couple presentations that were trying to marry the digital physical goods together, and remember thinking to myself that it's got to be a nightmare to try and bulletproof these physical objects to not be able to be scammed or recreated or knocked off, or you know what I mean. And so obviously you guys are probably the experts in this realm, but I'm very curious to hear how you've like sort of safeguarded yourselves against something like that, because it seems like it would be low-hanging fruit to be able to create a cheaper knockoff version sold on the streets right next door to your booth of the same thing. But I'm sure you guys have obviously thought of that and done something to safeguard yourselves about that. So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, you have this unlimited kind of creator potential out there, and some of it will be good, some of it will be bad. What we do actually is we exclusively license for the blockchain. All of our partners, our publishing partners, our brands that bring their characters on board, and we provide this perfect storm of, like as Joe was saying, play pattern plus the data immutability, plus the actual characters that you love, and that's what helps people just stay on the platform. And at the end of the day, I think if you just provide the best experience, then that's where the users will go. So everything from the actual sales of the goods, to having a marketplace, to games, really giving people all of the features that's necessary to interact with their collectibles, I think is important.
Robert, yours are all your Bitcoin and Friends collectibles are all digital. Is that correct?
Well, there's nothing in existence yet. I was working on that with Ethereum. That was my original plan, was to launch it on there, but I did not do that. So, yeah, at this point, it's that part of the project is on hold. It is something I think we want to do. You know, we're finishing out the first season. We have 3 more episodes to release. Hopefully, by the end of this year, we'll have the season wrapped. We're actually going to go back and redo some of the earlier episodes. We were doing sort of like a South Park type rating, like a lot of profanity and stuff. We're going to basically pivot to like a PG rated show. So the last few episodes have been more PG rated. So that's our plan. We kind of got burned by YouTube because we were too raunchy. And in general, we just realized that we really want to reach a wider audience. So, you know, it'd be smarter and better overall for us to just, you know, kind of dial that back and hopefully, like we got parents that have said, hey, I'd love for my kids to watch this show, but I can't really, you know, I can't show it to them. Which is, you know, is a bummer. We want to educate people about Bitcoin. We want to get people excited to learn about the technology and the reason for Bitcoin existing and the kind of fight we are in with central banks. So, but yeah, so we're going to redo some of the episodes, hopefully launch, kind of like relaunch the whole show next year, you know, maybe first or second quarter. And around that time, I'd love to also have a plan in place for like non-fungible token, you know, trading card type game and some other assets that we could kind of throw out there at the same time when we do the big launch. So yeah, I mean, definitely, like I said, love to talk with John and Joe potentially about, you know, partnering with them or at least learning from them at the very least. So yeah.
John and Joe, do you guys have an existing product out there currently? Is this all like in the pipeline, or what's, because as soon as you guys are talking, I'm like, oh my God. First of all, when I was a kid, I would have been like over the moon about this, but I have a son who's 7 years old who like would eat this up like day and night. So like what is like currently out there, and like what kind of like timelines do you guys have?
Yeah, I can speak to that a bit first. So, um, as far as Playtable, we've shipped out units to beta customers, and the reaction that we've gotten is exactly as you're describing. It's like
Dude,
kids
I
are
want to be a
on
beta
this thing
customer,
every
dude.
single day, and with their parents. You know, it's actually a play pattern that parents can finally connect with their kids on, and that's something that's truly magical. We are working through a lot of um, production actually this year. Joe can talk to that a little bit more. And then on the digital collectible side, we've launched VimWorld. So you can go to vimworld.com. You can get some ERTs to start playing with the ecosystem. We have an Adopt a Vim program. So for newbies that want to, you know, find out what it's like, it's typically very difficult to get your hands on a Vim because well, they're very, very rare, very, very scarce. And there's a bunch of different types that you can have. So, you know, feel free to take a look and see which ones that you'd like to start collecting. But if you go to vimworld.com, we've been live for about a month. And, you know, we are continuously building out more and more applications. We've got a few things on the roadmap. You can go to 8hoursfoundation.org to check out blog. You can go to Medium for VimWorld, and kind of we release all of our news there and announcements. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can join our Telegram. So I can, you know, we can share out the Telegram link later. But the last thing I kind of want to touch on is, since we are actively looking for devs, we're building so much art, we're building so many new technologies and applications. We are sponsoring a bounty for this hackathon. So you can go check out the VimWorld bounty. The grand prize would be 200,000 ERTs. And for that, basically, we just ask for people to make a game. Could be simple, could be complex. Just make a game that you can drag and drop characters into, and then have people start playing with your Vim. Could be anything from like a battle game, could be a collectible card game, could be, you know, a mini game or some sort of mechanic. But we'd love to see what people make.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, I mean, on the play table itself, like John said, we've actually shipped about 1,000 units to beta adopters already. We're improving the hardware right now, and we expect to have a much larger release at the beginning of Q1 of this coming year. So The unit will be widely available sort of around the March timeframe. It's just sort of, with hardware, a lot of people, it's like you said earlier, it's like, oh, how are we securing the physical items, right? Hardware is a very tough business to be in, with timing and everything. But it's like you said, everyone who sees this really sees the opportunity and potential of it, because you drop that piece, you drop one of these dragons or one of these wizards or a mage or any of the other objects onto the screen, and really you just see people's eyes light up, and they see, okay, wow, this is actually like the thing that people are looking for to build on top of, to build the next type of experience. And I think we're interested in talking to you, Ryan, about sort of, okay, well, right now we've been solely focused on our avatars, our basic personas that represent you are these objects, right? These dragons, these, things like Batman or Spider-Man, right? Things that people are attached to. But there are also those individuals out there who want to customize their own avatar, right? Who want to have that represent them in the future digital world. And so it'd be interesting to see if there was an opportunity to work together where people could customize their avatars, and then we bring it into the play table, and that actually is a representation in the game. And then we store win-loss. We store how many times you went head-to-head against another person, and you gain different rewards, right? As the more you play on the platform.
Dude, it seems like we all need to talk after this panel is over. I mentioned it in the very beginning. We've been holding these weekly meetups that are mostly held on decentralized VR platforms, mostly CryptoVoxels, but we've been in Decentraland, Mozilla hubs, and would love to extend an invitation to any of you guys if you wanted to hop on the virtual stage. Usually, we have 3 to 4 presenters per week, and just sort of 5-minute pitch of your projects and everything. And we have a very well-educated NFT blockchain audience that is in attendance every week and inevitably spawns a lot of discussions just like this, like post-event and everything. So you could, it's called the WIP Meetup. It's on, you can find it on Twitter at the WIP Meetup, WIP Meetup. I can send you guys some information afterwards, but yeah, they've been great. We had 3 presenters on last week, and then a trip to the Bronx Zoo in CryptoVoxels, which was, if you're not familiar with CryptoVoxels, it's essentially like blockchain-based Minecraft world. And so each week we do like field trips to a different portion of the metaverse, and it's a lot of fun, and it's also like a very eye-opening educational experience when you're hearing from different projects, across blockchains and cross platforms every week. So yeah, we'd love to have you guys on that or talk more about that with you, because I feel like, again, man, if I get excited about your guys' projects, I feel like our audience would as well. So it would be really cool to sync up with you guys after this. This went fast, y'all. Are we like just?
Yeah, are we taking any questions from the audience?
I think we're out of time.
We ran our too long.
There's no timer on here. Do it now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and we'll wrap up.
Yeah. Yo, let's talk more for real. We got each other's emails. We'd love to keep the conversation going. You guys are doing awesome stuff.
Yeah, likewise. Really